All right, let's just jump right in. Look, if you're only paying attention to the daily crypto charts, you'd think it's just total chaos, right? A battlefield. But here's the thing, underneath all that noise, there are these huge fundamental shifts happening, things that are literally rewriting the rules of finance. And that's what we're going to dig into today. We're going to uncover the real story that almost everyone is missing. I mean, let's be real. The crypto market right now, it feels like a minefield. It's this super high stakes, incredibly volatile game where just one tiny price move can set off this chain reaction of liquidations. It's all you see in the headlines, right? This picture of a market that's just teetering on the edge of a cliff. So check this out. What's so wild here is that the danger is coming from both sides. You've got all these traders betting the price is going to fall, your classic shorts, and they're using insane leverage like 40x, right around that $73,000 mark. If the price ticks up even a little bit, poof, they get wiped out in a massive short squeeze. But on the other hand, if the price drops below 66K, then all the people betting it would go up get liquidated. It's like the market is littered with landmines no matter which way you step. And as if that wasn't enough, you've got this other pressure cooker, the token unlocks. So what's that? It's basically when a whole bunch of tokens that were locked up for early investors suddenly hit the market. And historically, what happens next? Well, a lot of those early folks sell. And that can cause the price to tank. We're talking drops of 40, 50, even almost 70%. It's just another one of those short-term things that gets everyone spooked.
Okay, but here's the key. All of that stuff, the liquidations, the unlocks, it's just noise. It's the day-to-day drama, the real story, the one that's actually going to matter in the long run. For that, we've got to look past the price chart. We need to start looking for the big structural signals that are kind of hiding right there in front of us.
So this brings up a huge question, right? What if the daily price is actually the least important part of this whole story? What if the real game-changing forces have nothing to do with this week's price, but everything to do with where the entire world of finance is headed over the next few years? This is where you start to find these things called mispriced narratives.
And this right here, this is a perfect example. Just look at AI agent tokens. The hype, the story, the narrative, it's through the roof, a 92 on the hypometer. But then you look at the real money, the serious institutional cash actually flowing in, it's only a 28. See that massive gap between the story and the money? That's a mispriced narrative. And you know what's even crazier? When you find a situation where that gap is flipped upside down. Which leads us to our first huge underlying trend, the Wall Street takeover. And let me be clear, this is not about them just experimenting anymore or dipping a toe in the crypto waters. No. This is about traditional finance making a cold, calculated, strategic play to control the actual plumbing of our financial future. Just think about this for a second. IC, that's the parent company of the New York Stock Exchange. I mean, you can't get more old school finance than that. They just took a major stake in the crypto exchange OKX. This isn't some side bet. This is one of the biggest players in the world planting a flag. They're positioning themselves to control how tokenized assets get delivered to more than 100 million people. And believe me, this was not a random shot in the dark. It's actually the final move in a 3-step chess game. Step 1, they tried to build their own thing with Bakkt, and it pretty much failed. Okay, lesson learned. Step 2, they got smarter and invested in the data layer with Polymarket. And now, step 3, they're going for the jugular. With this OKX stake, they're grabbing control of the most important part, how things actually get bought, sold, and delivered. They're not just trying to keep up with crypto anymore, they're planning to run the show. All right, our next big expansion. This one is all about the very definition of what you can even trade. You know that wall that's always existed between physical stuff in the real world and digital assets on a blockchain? Well, that wall isn't just getting a few cracks, it's completely dissolving. 400%. Just let that number sink in. 400%. In finance, that kind of rate for anything is basically unheard of. It's just wild. So what on earth could possibly be in that much demand? Well, believe it or not, that was the annualized funding rate for trading crude oil on a crypto platform. Yeah, oil. And to give you some perspective, a normal rate is like below 0.03%. So 400%, that screams that there is a gigantic, unmet hunger to trade real-world stuff on-chain. The demand is so high that the people providing the liquidity literally can't keep up. And get this, look at this scale we're talking about. Over $10 billion. That's the kind of volume these oil contracts are doing daily.
So, yeah, this is not some tiny niche experiment anymore. This is quickly becoming a major place where one of the most important commodities on the planet gets traded. And this quote just nails it perfectly. Think about it. The whole idea of a market having opening and closing times, that's becoming a thing of the past. It's an old world concept. Blockchain is building this single global market that never, ever sleeps. A place where you can trade basically anything, oil, gold, Apple stock, from anywhere at any time. Okay, on to our third and final great expansion. Now, this one is a bit more futuristic, but don't get me wrong, the foundations are being laid as we speak. We are literally watching the birth of a brand new economy, an economy that isn't run by humans, but by AI agents. And an economy like that, it needs its own brand new financial plumbing. So what's the first piece of the puzzle? Identity. You got to know who you're dealing with, right? So think of this standard, ERC 8004, as a digital ID card, but for an AI. It gives every AI agent its own unique, verifiable identity on the blockchain. And that's huge because it lets them build a reputation, it lets them build trust, all the stuff you absolutely need for an economy to actually work. Okay, so they've got IDs. What's next? They need a way to pay each other. That's where something like the X402 protocol comes into play. It's basically a payment system that lets AIs pay for services all on their own, like for an API call or for some data, with zero humans involved. And this isn't just some sci-fi idea. Major players, we're talking Google, Visa, are already integrating this stuff. And finally, you have the last crucial piece of the puzzle, especially for big companies to get on board: privacy. This is where something called a Trusted Execution Environment, or a TEE, is a total game changer. It creates this secure little hardware black box where an AI can crunch sensitive data without ever letting it leak out. I mean, this solves a massive privacy headache and just blows the doors open for all kinds of business uses. So, what's the fuel for this whole new machine economy? What's the money? It's stablecoins, things like USDC. They're becoming the native currency here, the lifeblood that makes the whole thing work. The whole story around stablecoins is changing. They're not just a simple proxy for a dollar anymore. They're becoming the fundamental settlement layer for what could be trillions of automated machine-to-machine payments. So let's just step back for a second. When you tune out all that daily market noise and you start connecting these dots, the picture that starts to form is, well, it's huge. We're seeing this monumental expansion. Finance as we know it is smashing through its old walls in 3 different directions all at once. So let's just recap, right? The 3 great expansions. First, the barrier between physical and digital assets, it's gone. Oil, gold, stocks, they're all coming on-chain. Second, the battle for who controls the pipes is on. The old guard of finance is making a serious play to own the distribution network of the future. And third, we're witnessing the dawn of a whole new economic frontier, a true machine economy, built from the ground up on crypto rails.
And all of this leaves us with one last big question to chew on. If real-world assets are moving on-chain, and the biggest names in finance are fighting to control the new system, and a whole new economy for AI is being built from scratch, then what does the market even mean anymore? Our old definition just doesn't fit. The game isn't just changing, it's expanding into a whole new universe.